Day one of the NFL draft is in the books, and we move closer to day two. Jason Aponte, boots on the ground in Detroit. We're going to talk NFL draft, first round draft pick, and everything San Francisco 49ers related right now. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. What up, man? How has Detroit been treating you lately?
Pretty not too much exposure to Eminem, so it's been really good. Big Sean performed. That was actually pretty cool. Just staying out the way and watching this draft unfold, and obviously overreacting as everyone is to 49ers moves. So living a dream.
So I guess that leads us right into our first topic, obviously. The San Francisco 49ers get through the first round without moving any wide receivers, but they end up adding one. What was your thoughts when Lad McConkey came, or Lad? They didn't take Lad.
That would have made a little bit. That would have made a little bit more sense, like right off the bat. I think he was mocked there a lot, so that's why he's on the tip of your tongue.
He was, but Ricky Pearsall was the one who was drafted there. What are your thoughts on the pick? I think we were all surprised by it, but what's your overall thoughts that you've had some time to think about it?
So the thing is when it comes across, I think the initial issue is two things. One is the amount of times that other receivers have been mocked, and also who else is on the board. You see Cooper DeJean there. There was this talk about who's going to be the star role in Brandon Staley's offense. And it could have been Cooper DeJean. And for anybody that doesn't understand the star role, think Jimmy Ward. Like, think what Jimmy Ward used to do: play down in the box, play up top, play in the slot, those type of things, and move around and just create havoc. And then you have the other receivers who I love Adonai Mitchell. Obviously Xavier Legette was there. Xavier Worthy for a little bit was there, but now like you're looking around because of the way the quarterbacks had gone early, and you're seeing this influx of talent that you didn't believe was going to be there, and then the name that comes across is none of them. And I think that's your initial issue, right? Your initial part is you thought this name would be there, and they were, and then you hear that name, and then it turns into, oh my God, well, what is that? And also layered onto this is the fact that every single pick leaked. The 49ers pick leaks, and it's Cooper DeJean, and that's the only one that is the okie doke. And we all rejoiced for a little while thinking it was Cooper DeJean, and then to have that rug kind of pulled out and then have it be that name adds another layer on top of it. But having a time to sleep on it, actually watch him, not the highlights, because everybody's highlights look great. Everyone looks great in highlight reels. Having a chance to stay up late last night because I couldn't sleep. I drank too much coffee. Having a chance to watch him in this offense, understanding why his production isn't as great as people would like. His quarterback was terrible. That offense is boring in Florida. Those are all things that are there. The guy can get himself open. He's a freak athlete. He works in the middle of the field, and he can be a guy that they can use in a similar role to Deebo Samuel, not comparing him one-to-one for Deebo Samuel. The more and more you dig into it, the more and more you look at the fit, and you hear the way that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talked about how much they like how physical he is, how he can block. I think honestly it feels a lot better. Perceived value is only based on the names that are around it. But if we come back to this pick in 2 years and Pearsall is like balling and he's like a big contributor for this team, I don't think it really matters where they took him as long as they got a good guy.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you hit it right on the head. I think the biggest issue is just perceived value, right? But when you talk about perceived value, when you look at Ricky Pearsall and you look at where he's ranked, basically amongst most major, draft publications and all those types of things, he's right there in the early 40s. So all things considered, I think you and I can relate to this in a sense of how we, you know, just trying to make it make sense for guys like us who do dynasty drafts, and you have to play the board as it comes, and you also have to look and project out. The 49ers aren't getting this guy most likely at 63,
Nope.
because when you look at where he's ranked, I mean, if you want to talk about perceived value, you see a lot of 42, 42, 43, 44.
Hmm.
So, yes, is it a perceived reach, especially over some of the names on the board? AD Mitchell, Lad McConkey, Xavier Leggett. Yeah, definitely feels that way. But also, Jason, as you and I know this about evaluation, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
100%.
So if something and you are, that's part of what that clear. And I also think that when the Bucks were on the clock, I saw this little snippet from the Pat McAfee show when he had Bill Belichick on, and they had all the wide receivers. Guess who Bill Belichick predicted was going to be the pick?
Yeah, we all know how Bill likes his let's just say
But it was
certain
still over
certain
Lad.
receiver.
It was
Yes.
still over Lad.
And that's what's it's funny, right? It's funny because that's who I saw as like a Kyle Shanahan receiver, right? Was Lad. Like it felt like him, you know? I'll be honest. I will be 100% honest. When watching receivers, I never really got a chance to look at Ricky. When I watched him last night, and the hard part about actually watching guys, again, the highlight tape is just going to show you all the good things. Watching the plays that he's not involved in, what happens when things aren't going right, what are some of his perceived negatives, weaknesses, whatever those things are, you still walk away impressed with what the young man can do. And I want to throw this at you, Brad. I want to throw this at you, Brad. Everyone talks about offensive line, reasons, Super Bowl, whatever. Fine, fine. I think we all agree that the 49ers can still address the offensive line. Good news, guys. There's 9 more picks. It's not the draft didn't end yesterday. There's 9 more picks. But doesn't it feel like Kyle Shanahan wanted to get natural separators one-on-one, that he doesn't necessarily have to scheme wide open at times? And this is not a slight at Deebo Samuel. We all know how good he is. But I think when it boils down to what he saw in the Super Bowl, I think he was much more worried and troubled by the fact that these guys had a tough time getting themselves open against very good coverage. And I think one more time he went and he found himself a separator.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He got a guy who can. When I look at Pearsall, like he has some of those traits that we would consider kind of like dog traits. Like he just has this embodiment of the way he plays wide receiver in a very tough nosed way, but on top of being very uh, precise in and out of his breaks. He's just like a natural technician, and I think all the years that he spent in college, I think refined him into the wide receiver he is. I think one of the things that stood out to me, I'm like, oh, he's like 24, right? Like he's older, which I don't love about, especially first round draft prospects. But I think if you're looking for a guy who's going to contribute right away, and clearly, I mean, this will maybe be we'll transition to this next topic. But clearly, it sounds like the 49ers are open for business at wide receiver, at least into hearing if anyone has anything to offer. So maybe they just felt like we know that we're going to need a guy here in the next year or two to step in, and let's go get him now. And they clearly identified on their board that this was the guy, and that's what they
Mhm.
talked about. So for me to judge the pick, it's hard because how am I going to judge someone else's evaluation? I'm always, talking about stay true to your own evaluation. I had Troy Faltanu as the second best offensive lineman. I think he was the fifth offensive lineman to go. I would have traded all the way up near 10 to take Troy. Could have stayed and got him at 20. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And so I think The way that CJ Stroud reacted, the way that Bill Belichick predicted, and again, just knowing who the player is and watching and what he does, it makes it a lot easier to rationalize the pick. In all things considered, from a perception standpoint, was it a reach? Yes, it was perceived to be a reach. But just like I was saying on the live last night, is like, okay, but if this guy turns out to be a quality wide receiver a couple years from now, we don't
Yeah.
care.
Right.
The same thing like I was talking about with Puka Nakua. If you took Puka Nakua at 31 last year, people would have lost their minds.
Mhm.
But he's considered right now by a lot of people as potentially a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So you
Yeah.
just got to let it play out. We got to wait to see. Obviously, there were different options: Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jerry Newton. I thought those were better options if we're talking about filling a need, right? But hey, they went wide receiver. They shocked us all. But I don't think they got a terrible I don't think this is AJ
No.
Jenkins.
No.
I see people like, oh, this is AJ Jenkins. I'm like, no, it's not. AJ Jenkins was awful.
And another thing is, the Brandon Ayuk pick was viewed as a reach. There were many people that said, I don't understand. I don't see how you can take him here. And now look where we are with Brandon Ayuk being the talk of an extension and many people wanting to get their hands on him right now at this point. And then kind of what's being whispered about, because I definitely love the Donnie Mitchell. I liked him obviously more than Pearsall. I didn't really even get to watch Pearsall like that. So, but the kind of buzz around here is that Donnie Mitchell has medical concerns. And you know what
You
else?
saw that heading into the draft that people were taking him off their boards.
Right. And you know what else too? No matter who the 49ers take, that doesn't guarantee anything. You could take Cooper DeJean. I think we'd have all been happy with that. Does not guarantee that he's a hooper. You could take any of the linemen. Does not guarantee that they're going to be there. You could take any of these receivers. Does not guarantee that they're going to play well. So the idea that now, they've already drafted a bust, but if they would have drafted the guy that you like, you were going to give him what, 3-4 years until he shows you. It's just look, saying that you value one prospect over the other, it's fine. I like the Donnie Mitchell over Pearsall clearly, but when you start to dig in and you start to watch the guy and you start to understand the fit, and another thing that Kyle and John talked about after was the fact that they love that he's a willing blocker. No block, no rock, right? One thing that I think we should talk about before we segue into, I think I know what the next topic is. I'm going to segue into this. Adam Schefter said that the 49ers got calls about 3 receivers. 3.
Really?
Who's the third one?
Juwan?
Jawan Jennings. No one's talking about that.
When did he say that?
He said it right after the pick came out with Pearsall. So now you look, and obviously the conversation shifts to, okay, day 2 is about to start. The Buffalo Bills have traded back. Sounds like they're going to get this out of the Donnie Mitchell. Nice job back there. Donnie Mitchell is going to be probably in Buffalo. You have someone right behind them that's needy as well too, the New England Patriots. But it sounds like what Jordan Schultz is saying is that there's no trade imminent. Nothing's going to happen, right? It sounds like what the course of action is going to be, and I think this is the best part about this, is Pearsall gets a chance to step into this offense and not replace someone immediately. So he can get his feet wet and be, either situational, a little bit more on the field, doesn't have to be a guy that's relied on immediately. And I think I like the idea of that with him, with those two in addition, as opposed to him replacing one of the other. So it sounds like we're going to get through today as well. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are still going to be on this roster. And you've kind of right there put themselves right in a position where they're a little bit deeper. And they still, guys, the draft didn't end yesterday. The 49ers can still draft a lineman today. Sounds like, it feels like Roger Rosengarten. Come on down, doesn't it? Right? But
I hope we learned anything. I hope it's smoke show.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But if we learned anything from yesterday, it's doesn't matter who they brought in for top 30 visits. Doesn't matter who they've been connected to. The 49ers do whatever they want. That's what John Lynch said when I asked him that question at the Combine. We just draft good players, and we don't really have a perception of how everybody else sees them. It's worked. It hasn't worked. We'll find out. But I do think the 49ers addressed offensive line with the second pick. But I did think that it's kind of funny that everyone kind of eschewed the fact that people were calling the 49ers about Jawan Jennings as well. And what do you do if you're the 49ers? Second round tender, wants an extension, might let him walk. You could have gotten a pick for Jawan Jennings. I don't know. It's interesting. But it doesn't sound like anybody's on the move at all.
What do you make of the 49ers getting and uh receiving all these calls and potential trades? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I think a lot of people want to find a way to get a piece of this offense. And everyone is looking to duplicate what the 49ers have done in one way or another, whether it's the system, whether it's we're trying to find our Debo Samuel. How many people have been talking about that in every single draft?
Right.
The comp is we're going to use him like Debo. Yeah, everybody's been
Malachi
trying.
Corley.
Right, everybody's been trying. Malachi Corey is the guy this year. LaVisca Chenault, remember? Oh, he's Debo Samuel. Oh, use him the same exact way. Everybody's looking to duplicate what the 49ers are doing. So good teams that have good players are generally going to get calls, especially when you're trying to duplicate the type of offense the 49ers have and the success they've had.
Yeah, so I think we knew what the main problem is, Jason, right? It's the position that was taken. Would you agree with that?
I think it's the name. I don't know
You
if it's
think
the
it's the
position.
name?
Yeah, I think it's the name.
Oh, do you
Again,
think because of the last 2 weeks and all the wide receiver talk that people would have been much more open to an Xavier Worthy, to a Leggett,
right.
to A.D. Mitchell?
AD
It's
Mitchell,
the fact that
Lad.
it's the fact that it's Pearsall.
Right. Like that wasn't one of the names. That's it. Like, you look around in a bunch of mocks with people that are in the know, and it was never Ricky at 31, right?
Right.
You got all these other guys. It was just the name. It wasn't the position. I don't think anybody would have freaked out if the wide receiver that was called was AD Mitchell or Lad McConkey. I think it's just because of who. I think it's just because of the name. So once that fades away and you sit there and you think about it and you're like, well, let me do some research. That's when you really start to get in to the type of player and the fit that he's in, and you can feel better about it.
Yeah. So, man, it was quite the whirlwind. What was like there was there is there a reaction? Like, do you get a reaction and like where you're at? Where like did you hear like a audible gasp from everyone in the room, or is that at that point is everyone gone because
No,
it's been
everybody,
4 hours?
no, everybody was here for 31. The audible gasp in this room came when Michael Penix was taken to the Atlanta Falcons, and and
That's
that
crazy.
and that broke through this room like maybe 2 minutes before it was actually announced, and that was the one where everybody was just like, even people that haven't met were just looking at each other like, what is going on? With the pick at 31, it kind of just came and went. A lot of people were like packing up, getting ready to go. And it wasn't a big shock. There's so many people in here. Hardly any of them are 49ers writers or
Right.
anything like
They
that.
probably
Or,
don't
so,
care
yeah,
one
so
way or
it's
the
just that
other.
they do not care one way or another.
So, what do you think the most likely outcome is? I think you already kind of alluded to it, but most likely outcome is the San Francisco 49ers top 4 wide receivers next season will be Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall.
Correct. I think that's pretty much. You can sit here and worry yourself throughout the second and third round to see if there is a trade, but there's not going to be a trade. It doesn't look like. So that's it. This is what you're going with. The band's back together. You've added somebody who you can see move forward in this offense, and then you deal with the Debo Samuel thing next year, and you figure out what you can do next year. I don't think it's hard to kick the can down the road at all.
I would say I wonder if there's any like lingering like feelings or drama, but it feels like this group has gone through so much that they just brush it off and keep moving forward, right? Like whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of the things too that people are forgetting in terms of like trading Debo is if you trade Debo somewhere, you don't think Debo's going to go to that office and be like, "Hey, I need new money." Um, that's another thing that you got. Like like I want more money now. You brought me here. You obviously care about like what I can do for your team, right? Like I I think a lot of people are forgetting that part too. And again, the 49ers have their value of their players, and they're not going to wait. they're not going to wait on that, and they're not going to change that. If they feel like they should get a first rounder or a late or early second or something like that for a player, and they don't get that, they're not just going to be like, well, we'll just take what we can get. They're going to get what they can. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So as we head into second and third rounds, we also have a super chat from Greatness 54 says,
oh,
I'm
nice.
not
Let's go, my
upset
boy.
about who they picked. I'm more upset about what they left behind. Yeah.
That's
I was like, man, there's no way they could fumble between Jerry Newton, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Cooper
mhm,
DeJean. I was like, we're getting someone
mhm.
that's going to be an impact on defense day one. And I was like, God, the Mike Silver thing, man, that
Yeah.
was so brutal. That was so brutal
So
because it was like Cooper DeJean. Like I was like, all right, well, hey, if it was any one of those three, I was gonna be like, yeah, we cooking.
yeah.
And I was like, nope, psych. It's a wide receiver that no one was anticipating.
And again, this is all goes back to what we were talking about with perceived value.
Yeah,
Perceived value is who's on the board.
yeah,
Actual value is going to be second, third year when you find a return on investment. So
yeah.
many people in the first round. We drafted a can't miss guy. Here we go. We got our guy. End up either not panning out, getting injured, and then you look at guys that like were behind them, and you say, I can't believe they let this guy slide this far. Perceived value is what's on the board today. That's perceived value today. That is not what is going to be the determining factor on the return of investment soon. And again, I'm not trying to talk anybody into liking this pick. If you don't, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. But
Mhm.
how many people have like drafted? How many teams have drafted somebody and they're like, man, I can't believe they got this guy, and then they end up being nothing for one reason or the
Terrible.
other, right? And then you look back on the draft and you're like, man, I can't believe this guy fell this far.
I thought
It's perceived.
Reuben Foster was gonna be all pro linebacker, baby.
It's perceived value today. That's what perceived value is today. Return on investment will be determined later on. Kind of got to let it play out, right? And in the first round, the 49ers decided this was the pick. If you look at their last first round pick, who was a wide receiver, his name, Brandon Ayuk, I think they did all right.
Yeah. So I think we're both kind of in the same thought process, right? It is a it is what it is situation, but there is potential that this could be a good pick in the long run. Just
Yeah,
right now, we just have to work
yeah,
through some of the guys that were picked over, and
mhm,
that's about it, right? So
yeah. And it all
if
again,
you don't like the pick,
that's
you're
fair.
totally you can totally say that. Like that's not
That's fair.
a problem. We don't have to twist your arm to be like you have to like this
Right.
pick.
No, we're not. That's not at all like what we're saying is how many can't miss guys like in the first round? Like, I can't believe they got this guy. And then you end up looking back and there's guys in the third and fourth round that eventually outshine them, right?
Well,
Jalen Rager, Jalen, huh?
John Lynch did say they had 22 first round picks
Hmm.
or graded players on their board. You're picking at 31 and you're staying at 31. There's a good chance those 22 players don't make it to you. So at that point,
Hmm.
how do you then gauge and grade and rank and all those
So
different
look,
types of things as well?
the Raiders in a draft class of CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, selected Henry Ruggs.
They took Henry Ruggs first.
The Philadelphia Eagles had a chance to get Justin Jefferson. They drafted Jalen Rager. And
With
so
Debo
much,
Samuel and AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, the Patriots took in Keel Harry.
the 49ers took Jalen Hurt. Oh, not that again. Damn it.
Over who?
Nobody. It doesn't matter. I don't want to
No,
bring it up. I don't care.
nobody.
No,
Oh,
over
talk
nobody.
about these wide receivers,
Don't
man.
don't look up Jalen. Whatever you do, do not look up where Jalen Hurd was drafted and who was taken 3 picks after him by the Washington Commanders. Good
I
God.
wonder what
But
Hurd is doing these days.
I don't know. Hopefully he's doing well. But look
I don't
again,
care,
the
man.
the the thing is again, you don't have to like this pick. I understand. If you don't, because you had your eyes set on someone else, that's the fun part of the draft process. But now it's pretty much done. There's nothing you can do, and now you've got to just watch how this plays out. and there's still always a chance that people out outperform their draft class, right, or their draft spot. Look what you're getting from the last pick in the draft from Brock Purdy. Does that mean that every single team like made a mistake? All those things, like it's just the draft process isn't perfect. A lot of guys slip, and it's not because teams don't want them; it's because they force a need in. Those type of things. Again, it's still too early, but now when you dig into this and you look at what the young man possesses, his skill set, what he can do, and how he can fit in this offense, you see the vision, and it's there. It's right there for you.
Yeah, I definitely think that's fair for sure. Um, so as we head into round 2 tonight, um, what do you think the positions that the 49ers are going to target? Like, are we going to see a running back third round? Are we going to see more, curveballs? Do you think they're going to go O-line and appease everyone? What are your thoughts?
Oh, they're not appeased. They're not appeasing anyone. Again, like we keep saying, the one thing you can set your watch to is the 49ers are not going to draft whoever you want. Never. It's just not going to
Hey,
happen.
this is like the multiple comment that
I just don't see it, man. We have the same.
Who's
We
the
have the same.
basketball player that we always joke
Austin
about?
Rivers. Austin Rivers.
Yeah, move over Rivers. We
The
got we
thing
got
is,
to do
I
doppelganger
don't,
in town.
I don't look anything like old boy. We're just white with beards. If
Yeah,
anything,
like-
if anything, that kind of feels like stereotyping, and I want everybody to kind of look in the mirror and just find out like why you think that that's true. Every white guy with a beard doesn't look alike.
We're gonna have to start calling you Yak Harlow now.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not make this about me because it doesn't matter. What I was saying is, I think it's obviously going to be offensive line here. Otherwise, this fan base is going to rip itself apart, and I think they understand that they're going to do that. But it if you think the 49ers are going to do whatever it is that you think that they're going to do, it's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. And the one thing that I tell people all the time is set your watch to the 49ers doing whatever they want and not drafting whoever it is that you like. Because
Yes,
that's what always happens.
yes.
It's literally what always happens. Literally.
Jason, that's why I literally have an entire process where I go through scouting players that I like through my process, and then I try to scout again through a process in which I believe the 49ers would scout. Two completely different processes, because we typically don't see eye to eye a whole lot on how these prospects go about. So it'll be woo.
Ew.
This cough is killing me, man. So
This
it'll be
Brad's flu game.
interesting. Yeah, dude, crazy. It's been a week. What the hell, man? I haven't been sick this long in hella long. So anyways, but with the 49ers, I think we know that they're going to do their own thing. It's been that way from the very beginning. So are there any prospects you have your eye on for, let's say, 63? Do you really think it's going to be Rosengarten at 63? Do you think he goes sooner than that? What are your thoughts?
I think the book is kind of out on Rosengarten, and I think that the 49ers may have to move up if they really want him. I think people are going to start. There's going to be a tackle run, and if the 49ers want to be stuck out in the cold, they better make sure that they work the phones and get into their spot. If not, it's going to be the young man from Yale, who Lance Zierlein actually put out his second and third round mock, and it came out today. And he had Rosengarten at 63, and he had the young man from Yale right behind him to Kansas City, 64. So the 49ers got to watch it, because as soon as this tackle run goes, you can't sit around and just hope that he stays there if you really want him. So I expect the 49ers to be aggressive and go up and get themselves a tackle in the second round.
Yeah, it does feel like they will be a little bit aggressive, try to move up, trade for someone. Just considering the fact that they have 9 more draft picks, and they've talked about how there's a significant talent drop off after around the 5th round, with I think they said 35 draftable players returned due to NIL. So it thinned the pool a little bit, where the 49ers have had so much success. So maybe we will see them jump up and try to get something done. So it'll be interesting. What would you want to see for the 49ers in regards to positions or names or players?
Just offensive tackle. I just want everybody to be happy. I want you guys to be happy. Um, and I think one way or another, whether the player is good or not, I think everyone just gets happy if they draft a lineman. So I just want you guys to be happy. Draft a lineman so everybody can calm down, and then we can all just say, "Hey, see, look, they addressed the line," and then we'll figure out if the guy actually can play football after. But I just want you guys to be happy. So let's actually draft a lineman so we can get some smiles out there as opposed to screams and frown faces.
What is it about our fan base that just and I can't blame it on them all the time. Like it's not
No.
like they've been buried in wide receiver trade rumors for 2
Yep.
months
Hmm.
since the Super Bowl, excruciating loss in
Hmm.
the Super Bowl. And then now it's another wide receivers thrown into the mix. Then we draft a wide receiver, and it's like, oh, now
Well, they didn't draft the wide receiver that everyone wanted.
they didn't draft the wide receiver that everyone wanted, and
Hmm.
then like I would say literally anyone wanted, like because of he was round 40s, so no one was like linking that to the Niners. So I get it, man. I was saying last night, I was like, man, why can't we have nice things, man? Like, why does it always feel like there's something going on? Like, what is it? What is it about the Niners? Even John Lynch was kind of talking about it. He's like, why is it always us? Like, why are we always the ones attached to everything?
Pull up Peyton's comment. And honestly, the 49ers experience was on full display last night about this pick because it was Cooper DeJean, that didn't happen. Then it was this, and I'm just like, nothing like it. It literally roller coaster of being a 49ers fan. Nothing like it. And Peyton says, 49ers are the most versatile team in the league. Jordan Elliott is a DT and writer for NBC Sports. Now Ricky Pearsall is a wide receiver and media credential podcaster.
Oh, I love it. I love
I
it.
don't want this. I don't want this to start. Please, guys. I don't want this to start.
It's gonna happen. It's too late. It's already started.
I mean, dude, as soon as the pick came out and and everyone saw his face, all of a sudden we drafted Jason Aponte. No, we didn't. I hope not. Like
No.
you know that video of the guy where he's like, I got drafted, but like, what is it? He's sitting in the house, and yeah, and then he calls his mom. He's like, I don't want to go to the NFL. Like literally, that's what I was saying to him. I don't want to play, man. Are you crazy?
Are you crazy? We do. Yes, I agree. We do have nice things. It just feels like they're always bombarded with some other silly things that go on. Deuces
Mhm.
TV says, can any of the media ask Ricky about how? Can you read this one?
Yeah. Can any of the media ask Ricky about how we expect him to block and how excited he is to perfect it? No one has yet and hasn't mentioned blocking once. Well, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's press conference, they literally talked about the fact that one of the biggest things that they liked about him was not only his physicality going up and taking hits after the catch and his willingness to block. He does have some things to perfect that have been on film in which you see him take a step a little bit too late and allow someone to get by him, but he's a very willing blocker. And if I was willing to guess, and this is just me purely speculating, if it was between him and Adonai Mitchell, and let's say those were the two guys that they were looking at wide receiver, I think the tiebreaker the deal breaker for them or the tiebreaker, whatever have you, it would be that Pearsall is a better blocker because that is something that Adani needs to work on a little bit if it's not just the medicals outright. So yeah, I think they know that for a fact. And if you go back and you watch their press conference from last night, I think it's only about 10, 12 minutes. Kyle was effusive in his praise of getting his helmet dirty and getting in there. He's definitely going to start blocking. I don't think that they're in a mode where they can draft guys that don't block. They've only done that with Danny Gray, and now look, Danny Gray is probably not going to be on the team for that much longer.
Yeah. Do you feel like that this kind of signals that Danny's kind of on the way out? I mean, I would say last year probably signaled that, but probably
Yeah,
means
I mean, look, if it's not the fact that he's injured when he's even there, he's not active. It did remember when Danny Gray was drafted. What did we all say? This feels like something for Trey Lance. This feels like for Trey Lance. Like it was in tandem with Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't feel like there's a fit here now with him because he's not really a route runner. He's having a hard time staying on the field. It just kind of feels like the fit and the way that they had it and what they were looking at wasn't necessarily part of what they're doing now. And that's the one thing that we know is the 49ers will cut bait when they realize that, it's definitely not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. They've definitely made it clear that they won't hold on to you if they don't think you're going to cut it. So there's a couple Niners like that. So man, what are the vibes like in Detroit? What is the scene like over there?
Oh my God, 275,000 people here yesterday. The most in draft history, breaking Nashville's record.
Crazy.
Um, the Lions fans are out here, but the one fan base that is here, that is literally like repping and they're everywhere, the Chicago Bears.
Oh,
They're all out here. They are ecstatic. Think about it. Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, Rome. Why wouldn't they? But it's been great. I mean, Detroit's been amazing. The only issue is that the downtown area is very limited in terms of like streets. So getting an Uber to go home, it's it's a little bit tough. So you leave here at midnight, you probably get home like 1 or 2 in the morning because you're waiting for the Uber and then trying to get home. But yeah, Detroit's been fun. Detroit's been really been fun.
what was outside the Michael Penix pick? What pick
Uh-huh.
surprised you? What pick maybe you thought wasn't a fit, or maybe a pick you really liked?
Sean Payton better thank his lucky stars that Michael Penix got taken at 8 because everyone else should be slamming him for taking Bo Nix.
I
And
thought that
he
was
thinks
crazy.
he thinks he's so smart too. Look, I don't know what it is about Sean Payton that makes him so unlikable. It might be his face, might be the way that he does business, might be the fact that Kevin James played him in a Netflix movie. But
He seemed
him
a
going
lot
to
more likable when Drew Brees was his quarterback. I don't remember him being this unlikable before.
yeah, it's really easy to be a good coach when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks. Funny how that
And
works when you don't have that.
all-time nice guy too.
Yeah, but it's funny when he goes to the podium and he says, "I was baiting the Minnesota to go get JJ McCarthy." Yes, smooth move, idiot. And then you drafted Bo Nix. Who cares? Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. Make me puke with that room. Like make me vomit with that room. The only the it's funny because it's Aiden O'Connell and it's um Gardner Minshew for the Raiders. And
Yeah,
somehow,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
somehow the Raiders drafted a guy and they still have a worse room somehow.
What did you think about the Raiders stacking up two top tight ends on top of each other?
Just rate like all right. So the Raiders clearly they wanted to try to get to Jaden Daniels. That wasn't going to happen, right? That was Adam Peters' guy. But I don't understand it. Michael Mayer is a good player. Like everyone was pretty big on Michael Mayer. And
Yeah.
Brock Bowers now, like what? It's I don't know, man. The Raiders are Raiders. That's why they are who they are.
What did you think about no defensive players going till pick 15?
That's what another reason I think so many people are upset about in the 49er fan base. So let me explain. You look at the way that everybody's doing business and they're adding explosive weapons and you obviously look at what Kansas City's done and then the 49ers have a chance to do something defensively like add coverage and then they eschew that. So I think that's part of the frustration as well too. Is the first 14 picks are all offensive guys. You start to see everybody starting to get a little bit more explosive. I think the 49ers do actually play the Chicago Bears this season. So
Well,
you'll
the
see
the Cardinals got Marvin Harrison
Marvin
Jr.
Harrison. Yep. I mean, Seattle addressed with Byron Murphy. That's fine. But I do think that's a little bit of the frustration from 49er fans at pick 31 as well, too, because you see all of this offense being added. You see the way that everybody's going towards offense. You have a chance to get yourself a corner, someone who can defend, and then the pick comes across that way. So, yeah, I think that's another reason because of all the offensive picks that you saw early on.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like. I mean, I thought cornerback was for sure going to be the pick. 2 free agents in Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore next year. You brought in Isaac Yadam and Rock Sin, but felt like a great opportunity to add a guy with high caliber traits right there. I wonder if they would have went Nate Wiggins at 31 if Baltimore didn't snatch him. Do you think they
That
would
one,
have?
I would. Oh my God! I'll tell you this: if Nate Wiggins was on the board and they took Ricky Pearsall, I would have really been upset. I would have really been upset. Like I would have came back here today and said, "Look, I kind of see it," but I would have been upset if Nate Wiggins was on the board and you didn't take it. So like again, with the way that the offense was going early on, when they were going like all the way down, all offensive players, you start to look around and you're like, man, Terry Arnold's still on the board, Quenya Mitchell's still on the board, and you're like 49er fans were just hoping that Kool-Aid would be there at 31. Then you start to look around like, oh my God, could it be someone who is honestly put up a little bit higher? It could have been something like that. If they would have taken Pearsall over Nate Wiggins, I would have been very upset, highly upset.
Do you think D tackle could be in play at 63, or you think it's surefire O line?
I love you guys too much to like say like, oh, I would love to see D tackle at 63. But I would be remiss and I would be silly if I sat here and told you that there's no chance that DT is going to be in play at 63. I would think it would.
I want Rook. I got 2 options. I want Rook or I want Blake Fisher. There's more than 2 options, but those are the 2 guys that I like are at the top of my list. I think Michael Hull Jr. would be an awesome selection. Kieran, like you talked about, out of Yale, he could be a potential good spot right there. Maybe Max Melton out of Rutgers if you wanted to go there.
Met with the 49ers a ton.
DJ James out of Auburn also met with the 49ers. I like Jalen Wright out of Tennessee at running back. What do you think about that potential of it really being a running back in the 3rd round?
Brad, you're really trying to piss everybody off right now. So I'm trying to keep this. I want everyone to be happy. Is everyone going to be happy? No.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, it's like you're talking running backs and you're talking defensive line. That's the easiest way to get everybody up in arms now at this point after this pick at 31. Like if this pick at 63 is not offensive line, God help us all, man. Like God help every single one of us. I might just log off of Twitter today. I'm just not going to say anything. I have no thoughts. I don't know anything about football. I don't care. I'm just done. I don't want to talk anything about it. Like, I'm just gonna get up. I'm just gonna pack up and leave. I'm just gonna leave, and I'm not gonna go online. Nothing. I'm not writing.
Like the LeBron.
Yeah, exactly. Just get up. Yeah, I'll just pack up and just walk out. Exactly, just walk out. So, look, honestly, I want it to be offensive line. That's what I think that we're going with. But when you start to talk about running back, when you start to talk about defensive line, I think they will be addressed. But please address it tomorrow. Please address it tomorrow. Not today. Tomorrow.
I think I'm becoming an agent of chaos.
Yeah, you definitely are. You know exactly what you're doing too. Like you're talking about. Literally, there are a bunch of people in these comments that are saying they dislike the pick of a wide receiver at 31. Now you're talking about eschewing offensive line for running back or defensive line.
You know what I think it is, Jason? I think I'm so tired of hearing everyone bitch and complain about everything that it's like I'm almost like, you know what? I kind of want this to happen just to watch you. And this is nothing against our phenomenal subscribers or followers. But again, it's just like, man, we interact with so many fans on a daily basis, whether our followers or not. And it's just like at a certain point, people are just, there's a lot of whining going on. Like there's a difference, I think, between getting your opinions across and being able to express yourself and say something like that you have a displeasure of or don't like or whatever. But there are just some people out there that are just, you can see the tear coming down the face. And you're just like, come on, man, let's relax a little bit.
I think we should say these things to ourselves. We are not in control of what the 49ers do. They are not going to draft who you want.
That's not true. We control everything. That's what all the people tell us in the comments.
I had someone yesterday when I was on Twitter. I was like, "Oh my God, is Terry and Arnold slipping?" And they're like, why are you jinxing it? And I was like, listen, man, if I had power over what happens with the 49ers, they would have a ring already. They would have had one of these rings. I was like, trust me, I would have made this happen. But look, we're not in control. The team is going to do what they want. And I still want them to draft offensive line just to make at least some people happy, because it's still not going to, because no matter what, if they take an offensive lineman, people are still going to be like, I can't believe you left this guy on the board. It's never going to be everyone that's on board with all of that. But
Well, Jason,
it's,
just wait until it's the wrong offensive lineman. Just wait
uh,
until it's
well,
a reach on offensive line, like someone that no one was
right.
anticipating, right?
So that's the thing, right? So Cincinnati taking Amarius Mims, that's definitely a choice.
That's bold.
That's very bold, because that's
Bold.
your, and we talked about it. That's your sink or swim home run strikeout pick.
Yeah.
That's I like. It's literally, there's literally
He
little in
could turn
between.
out to be phenomenal.
Right.
He could be absolutely terrible as well.
And his
It's a
the ceiling is high. The
yeah.
floor, the floor's in hell.
It's one of the lowest floors maybe in the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
And Faltano's on the board. All these other guys, to go Mims over him, that is a choice. It better work. But I think when you look around and you see like the comments on Twitter about it needs to be offensive lineman, any offensive lineman will do. Anyone.
Mm-mm.
Like that's the thing, is what I was talking about earlier. We're just drafting people and just saying, well, we need this position, so let's just look up. All right, let's just take this guy because we have this need. That's when you find yourself in that problem. So yeah, it's a little bit dicey when it comes to that, because you want an offensive lineman, but then you get him, and then you find out when he gets to camp, or you find out when he gets on the field that he can't play. You know, are you going to be happy that they just took offensive line? Like, again, it's an imperfect science. It's tough. It's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to take the best player that's going to fit what you're doing, and you don't want to just fill a need necessarily. But again, at the end of the day, it's the draft is a crapshoot, and I think that's also another thing that we just got to remind ourselves of how this all plays out. What would you put the percentage chance that the 49ers trade up, like let's say into the 50s to try to snag someone? Maybe 50,
45,
yeah, about 50s.
45, 50%. Like, they're going to have to. When this offensive tackle run starts, they're going to have to jump out there. And Vic, Tyron Smith signed with the Jets, unfortunately, so he's not out there either. I think it's a good chance, because if the 49ers are truly looking for an offensive tackle, there's going to be an offensive tackle run here in the second round, especially with the guys that are available. The 49ers better secure their player. So I've got him at like 45, 50%.
45, 50%. That seems fair. Seems like again a great opportunity to be aggressive. Wait, what's this? What's this?
Oh,
Hold
no.
on.
Oh, no.
What's this?
Oh, no.
Regarding a potential Deebo Samuel trade, right now there does not appear to be a team that would meet the 49ers asking price tonight. That could
Shocking.
obviously change.
We're not closing the door on anything.
All it takes is one team. But at this
Man,
moment, it's quiet.
it's done. I
That
never
seems
thought
to
that this
be
was going to happen.
the common theme is that no one is meeting the 49ers asking price.
That's the point, and that's why this is never going to get done. It's done. It's done. Once you got past that Jacksonville pick, and they took Brian Thomas, that's it. It was done. It was done. So, yeah.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh, when the Jags moved back to 23, I was like, oh gosh, that might.
No. What was worse is we're in this room, and Jaguars trade comes up, and we all hear it, and like my heart sinks.
Oh,
My
because you
heart.
didn't know it was like
I didn't know what it was.
drop
It's
back.
I heard Jaguars trade, and it's almost like, you know, when your ears like have that ringing noise. Like, I stopped like hearing the rest of it. Like, and I started to like already, like, my heart started racing, and then it said trade back, and then I was like, oh, that's not for Brandon Ayuk, and then I was like, oh wait, that means 20 and 23 are now the places that they can go. So, but yeah. Once it was done at 23, I was just like, yeah, that's it. Like, there's no more. Like, there was never a chance it was going to be 28 with Buffalo. that was it. That was your those are your landmarks. It had to be Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Those were your landmarks. After that, I never felt like there was ever going to be anything with either of those two guys.
Yeah, and then that's all she wrote. Like, you don't think there's any chance, like a second, and maybe something else gets it done for Ayuk or Debo, like
No,
hypothetically.
not Ayuk at all. I not Ayuk at all.
Yeah.
At all. If it was going to be anybody, it'd be Debo, and I'm gonna put that at 5%, just because I
Yeah.
don't want to close the door on anything. But yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah, when they had that original report came out that it was like, "Oh, maybe a second and something else could get it done for Ayuk." I was like, "No." That would mean, like, the 49ers were desperate to trade him. Like, that's not good value. Like,
Yeah,
that's not a good move,
it
so
it never feels like they're just like, oh, please, somebody just take him. At this point, it's just like, run it back one more time. You still have everybody under cap. But remember, no matter what happens, if Brandon Ayuk doesn't sign his contract extension, he's still on his 5th-year deal, and they can the 5th-year option. They can still franchise tag him, so he doesn't have any leverage. He's not going to sit out. So why not run it one more time? See what happens with Pearsall. Keep going, and then find out.
I think that's one thing that you have to respect about this organization. Like, even when having these trade conversations, they aren't bending over backwards to like try to just get guys out the door. Like, they have a value, they're gonna stick to that value. And if no one reaches where they need to be, then they have zero problems just being like, all right, we're gonna just pivot and keep it going with what we have. So
Not to
um
not to rehash the whole issue, but didn't we learn that with Jimmy Garoppolo?
we did. We were learned that first with Debo. It was then reiterated with Jimmy and the side field fiasco,
Right.
and then him actually being the starting quarterback that year, and we just relearned it again. So, that's been a huge talking point for, I think, probably both of us, is like, yeah, yes, there might be calls. Yes, there might be interest in potentially trades or movement with said wide receivers, but they're not going to just take whatever you throw at them. It has to be a certain price, which is going to be expensive. And if it's not met, it will not be considered. They'll listen. They'll pick up the fall or the calls. They'll probably shoot a counter over. And if the other team says no, it's too expensive, then they said, "Great, have a good day."
Yeah.
We're
And
not the store that you want to be shopping at then.
and that's it. Again, we don't give away players, right? Like that's literally something that they said. And that was during the time when they were, moving Jimmy Garoppolo. They were looking, we don't give away players. So they
Yeah, they
literally,
didn't get the value of a starting quarterback, so they
and
didn't
so you
move him.
know what they said? They said, hey, sorry, man, we told you that you were gonna leave, but we'll just bring you back. And this is like, hey, no hard feelings, right? Like, like they're
No
okay
big
with
deal. Go
right.
lead this team.
They they will go through the hard conversations, the awkward conversations on the back end, but just giving somebody up for nothing, that's never been what the 49ers have done. And I think we need to realize that when they value a player at a certain spot, they're not just going to say, well, we didn't get a first round pick, so let's just see what we can get. Like when they traded Trey Lance for a 4th rounder, that was literally the best that they could do, and they knew that that's what they were looking for, and they got it. So I think that's a little bit like where we should think about it.
Absolutely. Any bold predictions, anything, whether 49ers related or other teams related, stuff that's going to go down tonight?
Bold prediction: the 49ers are going to piss you off again tonight. Um, that's a super bold prediction. You 49er fan that's watching, you're going to get pissed off again tonight.
And then content creator are going to piss you off just by talking about the pick and trying to rationalize it to
Or
make it make
or
sense.
or if you really want to piss people off, not only after you're pissed off, what you do as a content creator is you tell people you don't understand ball. That's why you don't get this pick.
You don't watch the
look,
tape.
look,
You don't know ball.
look. I want to reiterate this one more time. Everybody is allowed to have their opinions. Everybody's allowed to fan the way that they want. Everybody's allowed to evaluate prospects the
I
way that they
agree.
want.
I
No
agree.
one knows more than the other. We all have insight. We all have things that we want to share. We all want to bounce things off of each other. So whenever someone gets drafted and you're not in love with it, if you don't like the pick, you don't have to, bend your will to it. If you come around to it and you start to see the light, genuinely, that's fine. But I really do dislike if someone says, I don't like this pick, and then you go, Well, it's just because you don't know ball and you haven't watched it, everything. Like that's the part where I'm just like, all right, man. Like people are allowed to feel however they want to feel, and you should
And
allow them
it's
to go
funny
through those
because
feelings.
it goes both ways, like, right? Like, if you say your opinion about how you feel about something, and then
Mhm.
you get 4,000 comments underneath it being like, "Well, why do you agree?" It's just like, dude, just if you don't agree, just go the different direction. Like, it's
Yeah,
that simple. Like,
yeah.
uh, anything else cooking for you tonight? What do you got? What are you going to be doing during the draft?
Draft is starting right now. I'm in the media room. I'm gonna pour myself my third cup of coffee. I'm fading here, man. I left here. I got here yesterday at 3 o'clock. I left here about 12:30. I didn't get home until 2. I didn't fall asleep after watching Pearsall and doing all the rest of the stuff that I had to do, like writing and stuff like that, until like 5. Then I got back up at 10, and I got myself back here at like 12 because I had to do more writing. So I've been here for about 7 hours already.
Damn.
Yeah. We're almost done here. We're powering through. So I'm gonna get some coffee. Look out on Nanners Nation. I'm writing
Draft start.
live. You know, is what is going on.
Oh,
Starting right now. Starting right
draft
now.
start. It's starting at 4, not at 5.
Right now.
It's starting right now.
Yes. Right now.
All right. Well, I guess
Perfect
we
time for us
got,
to end. Yep.
round 2 starting. I thought it started at 5. It started at 4 today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect. All right. So let's see what's going down with the draft. Appreciate everyone tapping in. Smash that like button on your way out. Sub to the both channels, and we'll see who's getting pissed off tonight. All right. Appreciate all you guys. We're out of here. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're gonna get into it all right now.